Hey there, my friends. It's Andy coming to you from Yorba Linda, California for the Andy Falco Show. And I specifically wrote this particular show to reach the principals at Placentia-Yorba Linda Unified School District. And this is really important because I want you to know that I see what's going on, I know what's going on, and I'm hearing from you, some of you directly and some of you through other people, about what's happening at PYLUSD. And it's obviously many of the things I brought up over the last, couple months now about what Carrie Buck is doing to this district and has been doing to this district for a very long time. But now with bringing in the people that she's brought in, that she now is really making a mess of the school, that it is a disaster. It is a sinking ship. And it is very serious. So I've titled this show, PYLUSD Principals Are Left Hanging. And that is not, again, I'm not making anything out of nothing. I'm not being hyperbolic. This is a fact. And principals, I wish more of you would reach out to me. You probably know somebody that knows me. Send me a text message. I won't identify who you are or what school you're at, or anything like that. I just want to get more of you to let me know what it is that you are experiencing when it comes to Carrie Buck and Candace and Kym and Ellen Mary, who apparently you don't see around or anything like that. So none of those three people apparently are reaching out to you or helping you out. And I'm going to go into more details about that. So principals, please hang in there. I'm going to get to a little bit more of your part, but I just want to lay a foundation of who I'm talking about, because sometimes some people see this video for the very first time or see my show for the very first time. And I just want to make sure that I at least give a clear background so you don't have to necessarily go and view the other many videos that I've done on this particular subject. So who am I talking about? Going back to my screen, and we're talking about these 6 women, and it's Carrie Buck, Marilyn Anderson, Tricia Quintero, Kym LeBlanc-Esparza, Ellen Mary, who is her thinking partner, and Candace Pelt, who is the deputy superintendent. And it really is important to know that Carrie Buck is the ringleader. She is like the mafia boss, apparently. Now, coming back to my camera, the more I learn about Carrie Buck, the worse it gets. In some cases, you meet somebody and you don't have a really good feeling about them, but maybe over time you get to know them and you go, you know what, I was wrong about my first impressions about this person. Well, that is the exact opposite with Carrie Buck. It gets worse. Now, I've shared this before with so many of these people that I end up discussing, but I know so much more about them and their personal life, which I really do my very best not to bring into the conversation, because although it does cause me to understand the flaw of who they are as a person and why it's not surprising that they lack leadership, that they're incompetent, that they have other agendas, that they don't care how much it affects other people, that it's really just all about them. Well, like I said, it's just the more I learn about Carrie Buck, the more that I'm not shocked that we're at this place. And, I really don't try to go to that place where I'm going to share the personal stuff I know about Carrie Buck now, because I got people coming out of the woodwork. However, again, she is the ringleader. She will use her power and her connections and threaten people and makes people's lives miserable, and that's who she is. And she's been doing it now for a very long time. I should actually find out how many years she's been on the school board. I think it's something like 20 years. But it's a nightmare around her, apparently. And she's using all of these relationships she's built with people that are just like her to create a hellhole for the employees of the Placentia-Yorba Linda Unified School District. And I'm going to get into a little bit more detail and who she brings on. She brings on people that will do what she says. That's really important to understand. So going back to my screen, I'm just going to focus on these 3 women right now. And I'm really going to mainly on this video focus on Kym Esparza and just a little bit on Candace, but they're one and the same. And Ellen Mary's mixed in there too. She's also one of the participants. But I just want you to know that these people make a lot of money. Oh, I didn't correct the one on Candace. I do in the next slide. So they make a lot of money, and they're brought here from other districts. They were brought here from other districts, Colorado and Oregon. Now, Kym worked in Oregon too, and that's probably, and I believe from everything I've heard, that's how her and Candace know each other, and why they're as friends, they were brought here together. And Carrie Buck saw that how they destroyed the districts that they were at where they were, or how they were both in the process of being fired. And to her, that was very inviting. So Kym and Candace were in the process of being fired. Ellen Mary, from what I'm understanding, she didn't have a job for several years when she was brought on to PYLUSD. So these are all people that could not apparently keep a job, is what I'm learning and hearing. That's the word on the streets, is that they were just found to not be good at their job. And so combined, there's the updated rate on Candace, which is $245,000 a year. So between the three of them in this position of superintendent, between superintendent, the thinking partner, and the deputy superintendent, they make about $900,000, or we're paying $900,000 to have them come and destroy this school. And together they came up with this lie that they're telling everybody, that they spent all this hard work and time to create something called the PYL Promise, and it's about connection, ready, and stronger. That's these three words, all right? So again, coming back to my camera, is that Kym puts on this TED Talk during a school board meeting, which was completely ridiculous, and she says a lot of words, the words that sound really good, and she actually has a way, she can actually use the words in a way that they're supposed to be used. And the reason I say that is because there's no meaning behind them. There's nothing below that. They claim to have done data. The best they did was with students. They claimed that they got 1,000 students, and to them that was a huge number. Well, there's like 23,000 students in our district, so somewhere around 4% of the students they polled. And so, in other words, they found 4,000 students that agree with DEI, CRT, SEL, and indoctrination stuff, which we know exists in our schools. And so They took this very small sampling, they claimed, and they put together this amazing program, which is not so amazing when you understand that all they have are words. Connection, ready, and stronger is all they have. And they claim they have all this data, which Kym took an inordinate amount of time to explain all this data, but really not saying anything other than it says nothing about education. Again, as I've said, I'm not going to play the video again, but I played it enough and I mentioned it enough. Carrie Buck is getting exactly what she wants. In her June 2nd school board meeting, she says the best thing about Connection, Ready, and Stronger and the PYL Promise program is that it says nothing about education and only talks about the whole child. But even worse, this PYL Promise and these three words, there's nothing behind it. There's nothing that they're giving to the principals. And this is where I come back to you principals who are still watching. And I want you to know that I see what's going on and hear you, is that you are being left with no direction, no idea of what this means, this connection, ready, and stronger. And what we're being told is that Candace, who says that she's in charge of everything and everybody, apparently, because Kym's too busy, and I guess if you're wondering why there's Mickey Mouse ears on the graphic, is that because apparently Kym, all she cares about is going to Disneyland. Apparently she's a foamer when it comes to Disneyland, and she's there all the time. I heard a claim that she goes there every weekend, which should tell you that there's a problem there. And so in addition to that, she applied only to Florida and California because both of those areas had Disneyland. So her whole focus is Disneyland, apparently. So Candace, because even with a thinking partner, Kym can't get anything done, doesn't know how to implement things, Candace was left to be responsible for everything according to her, and yet she's not involved in anything. They can't. Apparently the principals are asking questions, trying to figure out what's going on, and she won't answer them. She just says things like, do your best thinking, or you can figure it out, or you make the decisions, or you decide. about what these three words mean and how they're supposed to implement something that doesn't have any backbone, how they're supposed to do that and implement it into the different schools. So if you're wondering if this has ever happened before, well, it has with these people. And so again, I'm going to kind of focus mostly on Kym. I'm going to come back to Candace in another video for most of this. But Kym, this is what she does. This is why she was being fired from the Jeffco district. Now, that's what I hear. Now, I just don't want to get in trouble and say that that was happening. But from every indication that I've been told is that they were telling her that she needed to leave, but they would give her time to find a job somewhere else before they fired her, so that didn't impact her getting hired somewhere else. And so in the process of that, PYLUSD and Carrie Buck, oh, you're getting fired? Perfect. We would love to have people that are fired. Apparently that's a thing. We just hired somebody from Inglewood who was just recently fired, and Carrie Buck said, perfect, you'll be perfect here at PYLUSD. I'm going to find out more about her. The things I've heard are pretty horrific. But back to Kym. So Kym has done this before. And so let me share this article and show you here. It's Jeffco teachers, that's where she used to work, strike over alternative school changes. So this will make more sense a little bit later on. Principals, you know what I'm talking about, is that Kym is making so many changes. No more SPED teachers, no more SPED programs, no more GATE programs. Everything's just going to be about it's just going to be all general education, and everybody's just going to move into general education. That's just kind of in a nutshell what she's trying to do. In the process, many special education teachers are leaving. And now when we get down into the middle of the article, you're gonna understand this completely, principals. And it says here in the article, they also accuse Deputy Superintendent Kym LeBlanc-Esparza of deflecting accountability by blaming principals for mischaracterizing the plan as final. So she blamed the principals because this is a teacher strike. So the teachers are striking. The teachers were blaming the principals. The principals weren't saying anything because they were afraid for their jobs, because Kym, like she did here, probably told them that if you say anything, I'm going to kick your ass. That's what I've been reported by many people, that she's told people, do not tell people what's happening in PYLUSD or else I'm going to kick your ass. And so that's why principals at Jeffco probably heard the same thing. And so they were being silent. They weren't telling the teachers anything. They weren't telling the teachers that they weren't getting anything. And so what Kym told the teachers is that it's the principal's fault that they don't know what's going on, or they're mischaracterizing the plan, and that because I'm not giving you any direction doesn't mean that I don't have more ideas. But yeah, she never came up with any ideas. So the next paragraph, no AEC principal was willing to corroborate this explanation. Why? Because they were scared. One teacher who asked not to be identified, which is always the case because they're always afraid of their jobs, they have people like Carrie Buck who threaten them, wrote in a group email shared by organizers, their silence, the principals, the silence of the principals suggests they have been placed in an impossible position, which is the point, which is the truth, or it exposes that their boss is lying or lying to themselves. So coming back to my camera here, principals, I know this is happening to you. What I've been reporting for a long time is that special education was going to be watered down and minimized to a point where there are no longer any programs, and they've been actively doing that. The parents at Fairmont found that out on the very first day when they went in and said, hey, what's going on with all the GATE programs? And because there wasn't any mention of any GATE programs, apparently. I don't know all the nuances and words that were used, but that's essentially what they discovered. And then I'm sure the principal there went like this, like my graphic, like, I don't know. And she doesn't know, or he, I'm not sure who the principal is over there, but I'm sure that the principal or the vice principal, whoever was there in front of these parents who said, hey, what about the GATE program? They just go, nobody knows. And so let me just share this one little thing. So principals have an extraordinary amount of work that they have to do, a lot, but they get paid well. And I'm not saying that it's not impossible, or they have responsibilities. And the responsibilities, I'm just going to go through some of these that I found at PYLUSD, is they're responsible for instructional leadership and student achievement, staff supervision, evaluation and development, student supervision, safety and support services, school operations and administration, parent community stakeholder engagement, alignment with district goals and continuous improvement. And all of those things, there should be some type of foundation that tells them how to proceed with some of these things. So alignment with district goals and continuous improvement. To do that, you have to have a foundation of what it is that these things are. How would the school align with something that doesn't exist? And they're going to give them this thing. Well, make sure that it aligns with connection, ready, and stronger. And then the principals go, okay, what is connection, ready, and stronger? What is that? What's the plan that the district has put together? Well, you just figure it out. You make the decisions. And the principal is going, are you crazy? If I put something into place and it goes haywire, then you're going to blame me. Exactly. That is what Kym Esparza wants to do. She doesn't want to lay out something that's not going to work. She wants the principal to lay out something that's not going to work. And then she can say, well, I don't know, the principal did that. And so I'm going to fire her and bring in somebody else. And then maybe that principal will do something good. And she'll go, and then Kym says, exactly what I told her to do. That's exactly what I wanted. This is how Kym Esparza works. She puts together 3 words along with Ellen, Mary, and Candace. They go, these are 3 good words, connection, ready, and stronger. They sound great. What do they mean? I don't know. Well, how do we implement these 3 things so that they have a cohesive message that we can send to all of our principals? I don't know. We'll let them figure that out. And if we like it, we'll take credit for it. But if it doesn't work, we'll blame them. And that's exactly what happened. So I'm going to go back here. I'm going to bring this over here so that I'm looking more at the camera instead of at the side here. And so let me just read a few things here in my notes. So I took my notes of all the people I've talked to. I took the article, and I wanted to see the correlation. And so let me just bring you what it says over at Jeffco in a synopsis that I was able to create. And it says a key public flashpoint came in the spring of 2025. So last year, around proposed changes to Jeffco. Jeffco, it sounds funny. It sounds like, Gemco. But Jeffco is the district in Colorado. Jeffco's alternate education campuses, specialized programs for students facing barriers in traditional settings, academic struggles, behavioral issues, parenting, adult responsibilities, so the normal things. Educators at McLean, so the teachers at McLean Community High School and other schools, they staged a walk-in protest followed by an unauthorized strike by about 20 educators. They argued the district was moving to eliminate or sharply alter programs. What's happening here with special education and GATE and also arts and language arts programs and sports. All of these things are being altered, watered down, or taken out completely. That's currently happening at PYLUSD, by the way. McLean's, let's see. I got to get past this parentheses here. With limited prior consultation. So they did this, but didn't tell anybody they were doing it. They didn't go to the teachers. They didn't go to principals and say, hey, what do you think about us? They did none of that. They just decided, okay, we're going to limit or we're going to end all these programs. Kym Esparza did that in Colorado. She's told that she's got to leave or get fired. And who hires her? Carrie Buck. And so Kym Esparza comes, and what does she do? She begins to limit programs, she begins to change programs, and she begins to end programs, but she doesn't do it with the knowledge of the principals and teachers in the district. Same plan, same behavior is repeated over here at PYLUSD. Teachers explicitly accuse Superintendent Kym LeBlanc-Esparza of deflecting accountability by blaming principals for mischaracterizing the plan. One teacher wrote in a group email, I just read that to you, their silence suggests they've been placed in an impossible position, exposed that the boss is lying or lying to themselves. No principal publicly confirmed her account. Again, that they didn't because they were threatened that if they did, they would be fired. And so, of course, they're going to say that is the normal thing. This happens with Carrie Buck and Marilyn Anderson and what's her name? Quintero. With them all the time, is that they threaten and they pressure and they push and they say, you say anything, the bad things are going to happen to you. And And they pressure their friends that are working with them, that, they become friends with other teachers or other people within the district. And they tell those people, you can no longer talk to Principal Smith. You can no longer talk to Principal. If you align with them, then you'll face the consequences, is what they threaten. Educators described a broader breakdown in trust, exclusion from decisions, and lack of honesty and respect. They question the data narrative. Okay, so there's a person that's really close to me that I really like, and they are really impressed by the data that Kym Esparza said that they used, and Ellen Mary said that they used, and Candace said, we're using data. It's data-driven. There's nothing. They have no data-driven plan. Nothing. There's nothing. Now, data, the school already has. So they have people that are already responsible for data. How many kids are, have passing grades in these specific areas? How many things are working? What is not working? What do they like? What do they don't like? They have people that they're responsible in the district as to do that. Well, they didn't consult with them either. They instead had Ellen Mary go, I guess, talk to 1,000 kids out of 23,000, so 4% of the kids, and say, what do you think? And they ate pizza and had soda, and they laughed, and they said how ridiculous, people are. And then they claim that is data-driven. That is not a data-driven discussion or survey or anything. It's not data, but they call it data. Again, they already had the data. They had people that have been doing it for decades here at PYLUSD, but yet they didn't look into that. So they questioned the data narrative, citing improving rather than worsening AEC dropout trends in some periods, and argued the changes risked harming vulnerable students. They don't care about vulnerable students. They tell you that they do, but they don't. Kym especially doesn't. She didn't care in Colorado. Why would her behavior change here in PYUSD? The teachers union sought a formal collaborative committee with educator voice and voting power. The district rejected, Kym Esparza, in other words, rejected that proposal. She didn't want to have a community discussion with the teachers. She refused. She doesn't want to hear from them. This occurred amid wider Jeffco tensions under Superintendent Tracy Dorland Dorland, where the union voted a no confidence against her. LeBlanc-Esparza was a central figure. Understand that this is from the article. LeBlanc-Esparza, who is Kym LeBlanc-Esparza, was a central figure in the academic leadership team driving redesign work, including alternative education. Public reporting and educator accounts portrays principals as caught in the middle, pressured, silenced, or placed in impossible positions, contributing to the loss of confidence in central leadership transparency and support for the site leaders. So, principals, I'm hearing you that this is what you're experiencing, but understand Kym Esparza did this in Colorado. I'm telling you, she is the central figure. She is the main person. She is the one driving this impossible situation that you guys are in and trying to understand what is it that we're supposed to be doing? How are we supposed to be doing it? Why don't we have GATE? Why don't we have special ed? Why is everybody leaving special ed? Why do we have 9 people and possibly 12 people leaving special ed to count, including the top leader in the special ed program? She's leaving. I guess she's been here for 20 years. And I have all their names, and I'll bring them up in another video. But I just said simply, I don't want to confuse everybody with all the names. I know that happens all the time. We can throw out a bunch of people that are in the district. People, I have no idea who those people are. Just understand that the top people at PYUSD in the special ed program are almost all gone. They've all walked out because they don't like what's happening. They've not been told. They've been not giving any direction. They've been not told how these 3 principles are supposed to be implemented into their programs, and they're wondering why are they being watered down as to the point that they no longer exist, and why are the 3,500 special ed students being left with no direction and simply going to be placed into the general education, which, again, many of them could certainly be in there, but we're talking about 3,500 special education students who have nothing. I was going to use a stronger word. They have nothing at PYLUSD that's going to help them increase their knowledge, increase their education, increase their ability to read, increase their ability to do math. There's no program that's going to be able to do that. Now, there may be some supportive people that will be inside those classrooms that will maybe just stand over their shoulder and say, no, 2 + 2 = 4, not 5. I think that's their only plan, maybe if they even have that, but nothing like we used to have here. We used to have a thriving special education program here at PYLUSD. Many people were very proud and loved the people that were here that are now gone, but that's all gone. Let's see. So the parallels at PYLUSD, principals report, these are my notes, but principals have reported that Candace is rarely visible, probably because she's at Disneyland with Kym, provides almost no concrete direction, defaulting to do your best thinking, and leaves them to their own devices. So principals are going, okay, I have all these responsibilities, and it is really difficult to do them when I don't know what it is that I'm supposed to be doing in the name of PYLUSD promise, or what I'm supposed to be doing to stay in line with the other high schools or the other middle schools or the other elementary schools, so that we're all kind of all on the same page. We have nothing that gives us any direction. And Candace simply says, well, just do your best thinking. Again, what this does is it puts these principals in a position that they have to try to come up with things on their own. And if it doesn't work, Candace, Ellen Mary, and Kym will say, it's the principal's fault. They came up with that, and that's why it's not working, and they're horrible people, and they need to be fired. Or if it works, they're going to say, you know what, Kym, Candace, Ellen Mary, we did a fantastic job, and they're going to pat each other on the back, and they'll say, good job, not giving the principal any credit for being left on his or her own and coming up with whatever it is they needed to do. They describe a state of emergency. The principals, the teachers over at Jeffco said there was a state of emergency. I have principals here saying we're in a state of emergency here at PYLUSD. So they described to me a state of emergency, fear of asking questions and making independent decisions out of job security concerns, and an expectation that they themselves flesh out a vague 3-item strategy, the one I just told you, those words. And it's resembling what happened in Oregon. It's happening what happened in Colorado, that they come up with these words and they say, okay, you guys figure it out. It's very much the same thing. Special ed programs are being altered or diluted. Special education shifted toward full inclusion without specialized settings or clear support models. That's the report I've been giving. The special education children, the 3,500 of them, are being shifted towards full inclusion into the general education without specialized settings or clear support models. So they're not given anything. They don't know. These teachers in general ed they don't know. Like, what are we supposed to do if we have a problem? What if a kid starts yelling out suddenly about something? They struggle in a specific thing. And what I do with my general education students, I can do A, B, and C, but those may not work with a student who is identified as special education. Those same things or the way of doing it maybe won't work with the special ed. What am I supposed to do? Candace says, do your best thinking and figure it out. Gate is being reduced in pull out intensity and mixed into general classes. So there's no more gate programs. Cuts or changes to foreign languages, the arts, and related offerings, those are being removed without transparent or historical rationale. I heard a great saying the other day. I won't, never mind. I have to explain the saying. There's no clear operational guidance. Staff attrition in special education has been severe. I told you almost everybody has left from the leadership positions. I think it was 10, and I think it's going to be up to 12 in the next few weeks based on what I'm hearing, that there's 2 more people that are leaving. So let me just get to one more thing. So with all of that, understand that we have lost 700 students. This is the largest decline in enrollment at PYLUSD since I've been paying attention. It's usually about 200 to 300, other than when Dr. Chernus and Dr. Gates were in their positions, when we had an increase of 300. So we've had the steady decline of 200, 300, 200, 300, then we had 400, and then we had an increase of 300 when Chernus and Gates were here, and then they illegally investigated them, which I'm going to have more on that. I have a lot more information about those two. But they were illegally suspended and investigated for no reason. They were suspended, and then they investigated them to try to find something that they did, and they found they did nothing wrong. So there was no reason to suspend them, no reason to investigate them, but the investigation was simply to try to find something, and yet they couldn't find anything. So during that period of that increase, they decided, well, let's just take out the people that caused that increase, and now we're back. So then I think last year it went to something like 300 or 400 loss of enrollment, and now this year it's a loss of 700. So how much does 700 students cost PYLUSD? It cost us, the district, about $9 to $11 million. I saw one that said $12 million. So as much as $12 million is being lost because of these 6 women. These 6 women have cost the district in just this, we just started this school year, have lost 700 students at a cost of $12 million. And the only thing that they really are concerned about is refurbishing a kitchen over at Valencia High School for $6.4 million. Again, I've reported on this extensively. How is it that you have to spend $6.4 million to refurbish something that already exists? They don't have to build a building. They don't have to buy land. They don't have to do a lot of things. But they're going to find a way to spend $6.4 million. So we're paying almost $1 million for these 3 women to lose 700 students. That's costing the district another $12 million. So now we're up to $13 million. And now they want to spend $6 million plus $6.4 million on this refurbished kitchen. So we're getting nothing. Teachers are leaving. Principals have no idea what they're supposed to do. And just so far, these 3 women have cost us $1 million. We then have the 12 million, so that's 13 million, and then you add 6 million of that, so $19 million, so about $20 million. So far, those 3 women have cost the district $20 million, and we have less education, or actually no education. Carrie Buck says, thank God we don't have any education in these 3 words, but we do have the whole child. Now, how she got the whole child out of those 3 words, nobody knows. Nobody can figure out. We've lost $20 million because of these 3 women, actually 6 women, if you count, Marilyn Anderson and Carrie Buck and Quintero. It is a disaster. So principals, one last time, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry you're going through this. I know that you really, truly want to do the right thing. I know that many of you that I do know and talk to actually want to educate. And you have been complaining about this. I have principals that used to work here and they've left, and they're saying we had to leave because there was no interest of educating kids at Placentia-Yorba Unified School District. Only under Chernus and Gates did we see a push towards education, where they were coming up with innovative programs and teaching and tutoring programs and a strong GATE program and bringing in preschool, so that we had a number of students who would now be introduced to PYLUSD through the preschools and would stay, thereby not allowing enrollment to decrease. That if we can bring them in as preschool students and show them that this is a place of education, that if you're a GATE kid, you're going to thrive. If you're a special ed kid, you're going to thrive. If you're general ed, you're going to actually get the best education in the state of California. That was under Gates and Chernus. But these principals that have already left, that I'm friends with and that I know, and the ones that are reaching out now, is that I don't think you have any choice. You better start looking around. The one thing that I do know, and this is what I'm going to leave you on, and I'm sorry, but I'm going to leave you on this, is that the districts around PYLUSD used to respect this district. They used to fight to try to get into this district, to become teachers and principals and staff in the school district. That they wanted to be here because it used to have this air of excellence. It used to. Probably 20 years ago, but it used to. But now the districts that are around this, all they report now is that everybody is abandoning ship. It's like rats on a burning ship jumping into the ocean. They're saying, we're getting out of here because this is bad. It is bad. And the districts around PYLUSD know this because now they're getting applications from teachers and administrators who are trying to jump ship as fast as possible and try to snag up any jobs that may be open in some of the districts around us. And that's how you know. I think that there is a database, or there's a central location where many teachers can go to look for job openings and apply and that kind of stuff, send in their resumes. And they're seeing an increase of PYLUSD teachers and administrators putting in for positions and submitting their resumes. And it's never been like this before. Usually people are putting in their resumes to go to PYLUSD. Now everybody's leaving. And again, the numbers are growing day by day. All right, my friends and principals, who you could be my friends, but maybe future friends, make sure and reach out to me. Let me know about what you're experiencing and what's going on with your schools. And I would love to hear from you. Make sure and share this video out to others so they can understand what's happening at PYLUSD. All right, my friends, that's it. I'll talk to you later. Take care.